Hey everybody, Eric Dudas, Fully Threaded Radio. This time we just completed yet another tour of the Kerr Lakeside facility in connection with the Fastener Training Institute Training Week that's happening in Cleveland. And who do I have with me but this year's 2018 scholarship winner, and his name is?
Junior Leroy. I'm from Honduras, and I'm really excited to be here. I'm very grateful as well.
I'm so glad to meet you. Thank you for coming, and congratulations on your win of the scholarship.
No, thank you very much. I'm very, as I said, I'm really appreciative of it, and I'm really glad to be here.
Has the class so far and this tour been everything you thought?
Oh, it's amazing. It's been even more of that. I mean, you don't have this kind of training where I come from, and this is a very good knowledge I'm taking to home, and I can't wait to share it with my coworkers and friends, associates.
100%. Hey, with us as well is Cowboy John Walkman. He's the president of the Fastener Training Association. Great to see you out here. Sorry for the cold weather here in Cleveland.
Oh, it was 39 degrees when I left Scottsdale, so this wasn't bad. But I also want to congratulate Junior and also thank Eric for participating in 2018 in the scholarship program. And we just chatted, and we're going to do it again in 2019.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, we have to really quickly hop on the bus. They're shooing us out of here, and we'll talk more. Junior, I tell you, we'd like to hear more from you on the podcast if we could.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't worry. I'll be in touch.
This is great. Okay, guys, it's fully threaded, and, let's start the podcast.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. Yes, it's another episode of online, on-demand, predominantly fastener-related talk radio. Eric Dudas with you, everybody, joining you from semi-rural Northeast Ohio. And with me is Brian Musker. He's somewhere in his palatial estate located in the suburbs of Chicagoland. How you doing, Brian?
I'm fine, but I don't see a palatial estate anywhere near me, okay?
Well, your studio is certainly decked out, and it's more like your workshop, isn't it?
In some ways, yes. Nearly as disorganized, actually, would be the correct description.
Software lab, library, laboratory, it's all kinds of things, actually.
Oh, yeah. Stacks of books, reference guides, things all over the place, and I happen to be using at any one moment.
And I'd be surprised if there weren't a few boxes of fasteners tucked here and there for reference and general all-purpose use.
No, what I do have, though, is right in front of me, always, I keep it right in the middle of my screens, is a bolt that came off one of the pieces of equipment in the gym, and it broke. It's a perfect example of, my time at university's fatigue crack, and it's, clearly the bolt's a crappy bolt, and it was on one of the, just broke one day. I keep that there as my one fastener.
Well, that's a good thing and very thematic for today's episode because we'll roll out the topics on the show today, but as you'll see, that's going to fit right in. And this is episode 135 of Fully Threaded Radio. Thanks for listening in, everybody. This time we're publishing on December 14th, 2018. Carmen Vertullo, who most of you know joins us every episode for the Fastener Training Minute, is involved in a new endeavor. He's got a partner. Some of you may have met him out at the Vegas show. Rob LaPointe and Carmen have teamed up to form AIM Test Lab. And Bri, who knows, maybe we'll get out there. You can bring your bolt and we'll find out exactly what caused the break there. But we'll speak to them during the opening segment on today's show. And they're also joined by a very special guest who pretty much I think everyone in the audience should know, and we haven't heard from in a long time. We're going to keep that a surprise for now.
I don't like surprises, okay?
That's why I didn't tell you till now.
You still haven't told me.
On the feature segment today, we're going to speak with NFDA President Kelly Cole. He's got lots of ideas about the future of associations and what's going on in the industry right now. Plus, he's going to preview the huge Fastener Association Jamboree that'll be happening in March. We also compare the fastener industry currently to the European Union. And if you want to hear how we go down that rabbit hole, well, you'll just have to listen in.
Or how we get out of it.
Yeah, more importantly.
Right.
Unscathed, I think. Although we haven't published it yet, so we'll find out. On the Fastener News Report today, Mike McNulty is joined by RW Baird analyst Dave Manthey. They've got the November Fastener Distributor Index numbers for us. Little softening happening, Bri, but I think that overall, there's nobody that can deny 2018 has been and continues to be quite a strong year. On the Fastener Training Minute today, find out all about specifying salt testing and why you need to be careful about invoking the dreaded N.
Oh, okay. I'll wait to learn.
As usual, it's a bite-sized piece of fastener technical know-how that you won't find anywhere else, at least not on the podcast airwaves.
Yeah.
And then stay with us until the end, as we're going to review the 5th annual Fastener News Desk Best Booth Awards, which were announced after this year's Vegas Fastener Show, Bri. You know, there was a ton going on at the show that we didn't get to. I mean, you know, you work so hard in the booth and you don't get out and all this stuff's going on. But we'll recap that during this closing segment of our podcast today and the podcast season for 2018.
Well, there might have been a ton. I didn't get to see a lot of it, though. I mean, I get to see a lot of our sponsors, actually, and great members, and they come by and they want to talk. So, but I know there's a lot going on because they tell me.
So this is what you've been telling me about for years.
Right. Yeah, but you weren't listening, I see.
Maybe we could go back to the way it was next year.
Maybe.
Well, if you got stuck in the booth this year, folks, or maybe you didn't make it out there, I think the ladies at Fastener News Desk did a nice job of highlighting some of the standout booths this year. It's all coming at you on episode 135.
Good.
Fully Threaded Radio is sponsored by some great companies.
Yes, it is. The title sponsor of Fully Threaded Radio is Steelfast. Steelfast, for service you deserve and people you trust. Also sponsoring Fully Threaded Radio are Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, InSequel Software, Mack Brooks Fastener Fair USA, ND Industries, Parker Fasteners, Volt Industrial Plastics, The Worth Group, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. So we do have great sponsors, and they make this podcast really possible. What you should do is you should make it worth their while by doing business with them, if you're listening. And as an example of our great sponsors, they even look after us in other ways, because I got this delivery last week from Jake Davis at BTM Manufacturing. He was so concerned about the fact that I had lost my Zarf, having just learnt what it was, and left it in Las Vegas, that he sent me a couple more and some coffee to go with it. So that's great. Thanks, Jake. Okay.
Yes, now you can drink coffee the BTM way.
I know. It's very good. We've got not only are they good sponsors, they're very thoughtful sponsors too.
Yeah, we've got a ton of stories like that, but I tell you that U-Bowl blend coffee has been a big hit, and I'm sure the Zarf is greatly appreciated over there at your non-palatial suburban estate.
Right. I wouldn't be right in a palatial estate. I think people would expect me to have a title as well, okay?
I thought it was Lord Byron.
Oh, that's only when I'm in Texas. So I hear you made it out to Kerr Lakeside to see the Fastener Training Week plant tour.
Yes, and it was, as usual, out at Kerr Lakeside, a very informative and educational experience. I've been there several times, but you always pick up new knowledge. And I tell you, Charlie Kerr, he does a great job too, because he comes out and welcomes the group and makes it very clear that what they're about to see is something very special, and he really opens the place up, and they get it all ready for the tour to go through. And then once we walk through, he's there to answer any questions in person, which I think is a very nice touch and very generous as well.
Yep. Yeah, I've been out on one of those tours and I found it fascinating, especially seeing it was years ago now, all the coils of wire that they make the bolts out of all sitting, and you think, oh God, it goes from this to a bolt you have in my car or something. It's pretty amazing.
Which is all part of the Fastener Training Week experience. And they go to several plant tours in one day. So it's a very intensive experience, especially for some of the students who haven't been exposed to those kinds of environments. And I'll say this. So you heard the clip at the top of the podcast with Junior Veroy, and he was the winner of this year's Fastener Training Institute Scholarship Award. There were several other winners, but he was the top winner this year. And it was just fantastic to meet him. But he was one of these guys who said right off the bat, look, there's nothing like this available to me where I operate, where I'd be able to see this sort of thing. So it was just perfect for him. And it was so nice to meet him in person. I gave him a fully threaded radio baseball hat too, Bri. So
I hope you updated our list of the numbers. And those are pretty sought after, those hats.
Well, he seemed to appreciate it. Anyway, it was just great to be out there. And we didn't have very much time, though, because Beth was rushing everybody right after the tour was over back into the bus so they could go off to their next stop on the tour schedule, which good for her for keeping everybody, on time. But we didn't have much time to talk. Anyway, the Fastener Training Week, it looks like it was a success. I didn't get the word of anybody's test results, but hopefully they all passed. And we've got 30 or so new certified fastener professionals out there.
Wow, that's sort of a big class, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a nice sized group.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, good. Oops.
What is that? Are you still jockeying around with all those wires on your desk in your non-palatial office environment?
Non-palatial, it's not very well organized in terms of wiring. It's really a pain in the neck. Sometimes when old Jack the fastener dog comes in, he sort of gets himself a little caught up in the wires, and next thing I know, a whole USB hub has disappeared off the desk and gone on the floor, and I've got wires. It's a real mess.
Yeah, I edit those out, folks.
Just as well.
Well, maybe you should go and see our friends over at Volt Industrial Plastics, Bri. Everybody knows that for more than 25 years, Volt Industrial Plastics has been offering the industry high-quality fastener solutions worldwide. And now they're featuring their light-duty 3/8 wide cable clamps. And those are available in bundle diameters ranging from 3/16 to 1/2. They're ideal for hard-to-reach spaces, electronics, or anywhere there are wires and fastener dogs running around.
Wow. Sounds like a match made in heaven for me.
Get out to voltplastics.com for more details, folks.
Thanks, Heidi.
We've got so much to cram into this episode, everybody. We thank you so much for listening. It's episode 135 of Fully Threaded Radio, and we'll be back in mere moments to put a wrench to this one.
Good.
Talk radio for the fastener industry. It's not really all that bad for the most part. Brian and Eric, Fully Threaded Radio.
Harry, now that you use InSequel software, how do you like it?
InSequel has delivered. They truly are written for fastener distributors. It's affordable and their support staff is great.
We found InSequel's support staff has depth. They know our industry, and they certainly know their software. I see they've helped you pronounce InSequel.
Yes, but what does InSequel mean? Is it written in SQL? Is the data stored in SQL? Are they located in SQL?
InSequel uses the industry standard Microsoft SQL database, which is why it's so powerful and easy to use.
Oh, the database is stored in SQL. I don't even know where that is. I hear it's a nice place.
Harry, InSequel uses a SQL database because it's current technology and your data is completely accessible. No more expensive custom reports.
Is that why InSequel is so easy to use? Where is SQL on the map?
One of their many support members will help you answer that. Go to their website, www.inxsql.com, or call toll-free 877-446-9775.
Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company have been servicing the fastener community since 1905. An employee-owned company for 33 years, we take great pride in the quality of products we sell, offering outstanding customer service from our very knowledgeable sales team members. Our standard product lines include braided weld screws, resistance weld fasteners, leg levelers, tube inserts, clevis pins, and various other fasteners. We have complete custom manufacturing capabilities in low carbon, medium carbon, and stainless steel materials, and our quality systems are registered to ISO standards. We also have an entire team of sourcing specialists able to locate those hard-to-find items with typically smaller minimums and shorter lead times than that of our competition. We offer same-day shipments from one of our warehouses, strategically located throughout the United States and Canada, enabling us to fulfill all your fastener needs in a very timely manner. To find out more about Buckeye Fasteners, please call us at 800-437-1689 or visit us on the web at buckeyefasteners.com. Buckeye Fasteners, product support from development to implementation.
Parker Fasteners is your premier cold heading manufacturer, forging the future with precision and quality as our top priority. When you think of domestically produced sockets and tamper-proof screws from alloy and stainless, including A286, think Parker Fasteners. Our lockout line of security fasteners feature high torque, oval center pin design, and unique lobes that provide one-of-a-kind security for your customers. Our in-house 3D printing capability makes the prototyping process fast and affordable, and we're ready to produce your large or small run orders with highly competitive pricing and unbeatable lead times. So, forge the future with Parker Fasteners. Visit Parker Fasteners online today at parkerfasteners.com.
Hey, this is David with ND Industries. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Hey, Bri, I noticed you've been scrambling, working the scrubber overtime since the Lindstrom Stelfast deal happened.
Well, it just so happens a whole lot of stuff going on at the moment, but I have worked pretty closely with Carmen Tommaso up at Stelfast, and they use the scrubber for matching up customers' parts with their own, and with a lot of work from Carm, we've got that running pretty well. And of course, it's used all the time in SQL software, where people can look up matching Stelfast part numbers just on the fly, and that all comes through the scrubber too. So it requires pretty constant tuning to deal with all the different variations and descriptions all the time. And every time a new customer turns up, then it's got yet another set. So there's a lot of stuff going on through the scrubber at the moment.
Most Fully Threaded Radio listeners are fully aware of the FCH scrubber, but for those who are not familiar, it's a piece of software that we use at the FCH sourcing network at fastenersclearinghouse.com to cleanse or format fastener inventory data so that people can find it online and the search engines can find it, and hopefully people can sell it. And the scrubber is a big piece of that. So lately, we've been using the scrubber to do all kinds of projects for lots of different companies to help them with different fastener data problems, such as part numbering and just figuring out what a whole pile of listings is. Get out to fastenersclearinghouse.com and get in touch with us if you have any fastener data requirements, because we're doing those kinds of projects, and Brian's office on those days turns into a software lab. And I've been there, and there are many wires everywhere.
There are. I wish it were not that case. I always used to, in the early days of computing, when people had mainframes, I used to complain to a big company that doesn't exist anymore called Burroughs, because they used to show these rooms full of terminals and computers and things, but there were never any wires, because it didn't look good in the marketing promotion to see what an office really looked like. And so they had all these screens, they were always Barclays Bank was the usual thing. And, hundreds of people at their desks, all in front of terminals, but not one wire going into them. Of course, in the olden days, no such thing as Wi-Fi. Everything had to have wires, and they were just a mess. So
Yeah, well, that was in the days where 64K of RAM was like the size of a refrigerator. And guys like you walked around in white coats.
I didn't walk around in a white coat, but I did at one stage, just as fun at university, operate the first IBM transistorized computer, which was like that. It had, I think it was 16 Ks of memory, and that was considered to be so massive, and it was a big thing that was 6 feet high, 4 feet, and 10 feet long. That was 16K of memory, each one hand wired. And that was like the fanciest.
Well, you're demonstrating your pedigree here, Bri, but
this was old even for me. You're right. But it was fun.
Well, fortunately, times have changed, and now the FCH sourcing network is operating on some very high-powered blades down at our ISP partners who are located in central Illinois. And I tell you, they're like military-grade security down there, and it's good to know we could sleep well at night knowing our partners are taking care of all of the fastener data flying through the network, that's for sure.
Yeah, it does fly around a bit now between, like 9 different servers at the moment. So it's hair-raising at times.
But using FCH is not a hair-raising experience. Get out to fastenersclearinghouse.com whenever you need to find a hard-to-locate part or in an emergency situation, whatever the case might be. If you're looking to move inventory, we'd be thrilled to have you on the network. And recently, we revised our membership programs. So get out to the website. You can see what those are. And we tried to design them so that there's one appropriate for whatever kind of fastener liquidation or sales needs you have.
Right. Yeah, it used to be simple when we started. We had one server, okay? Then it sort of, as we got bigger, in order to provide the same great service, we had to put more and more servers on, and so we went from 1 to 9. So things have changed in the FCH world a lot, but the scrubbers got better and better and better.
Carmen Vertullo's coming up, along with his partner, Rob LaPointe. We're going to find out what is the aim of AIM Lab. Before we get to that, for all you hydrogen embrittlement watchers out there, story came across the desk. Actually, Carmen sent it to me after we recorded his segment, but before we put the show together. This comes to us from NBCNewYork.com. Headline, Whistleblower alleges cover-up of past bolt failures on new Como Bridge. Did you hear about any problems with this bridge, Bri?
I have not, but my head is stuck into my computer at the moment, so I'm not able to see these things.
The dateline on this story is December 13th, so it's happening now, basically.
Right.
We'll put a link to this out there on our Twitter feed. The subhead on this says, dozens of steel bolts that are used to hold together the new Mario Cuomo Bridge broke apart during construction, and there are allegations some leading workers tried to cover up the potential problem, the News 4 I-Team has learned. Now, basically, this story describes a whistleblower who recorded various foremen and project engineers involved with the construction improperly documenting A490 structural bolts breaking, possibly due to hydrogen embrittlement. And it sounds like the cover-up of this, if there actually was one, was being done to keep the job going.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the state, of course, says it's done testing and there's no public safety issue at the moment. So, again, I'll put a link to this in the Twitter feed.
Right. Yeah, I noticed that one of the comments, especially from the primary contractor, says, to date, all bolt testing performed indicates there is not an issue with the bolts. Well, I would think that if the bolts are breaking, that's the only thing that can be an issue with, okay? That might be the material, the heat treatment, or the coating or something else, or the way it's tightened, but it's with the bolt. It's not with anything else. How they can say this.
Right. Well, this article is for a general audience, of course, and lots of questions come up. First, I've heard of it, though, so that's why we're bringing it to you folks. And, of course, a lot of folks remember the Bay Bridge story a couple of years ago. I'll read a little bit here directly from the story. Quote, well over a year ago, the Thruway Authority hired independent experts to check the safety of the bolts on the new bridge, said spokesman Jennifer Geivner. She goes on, after thorough review and before the first span of the new bridge opened to traffic, independent experts concluded that the actual bolts and the bridge are safe. So that's the quote that you were reading, Bri. The story goes on, but the whistleblower has filed a lawsuit and enlisted experts who say an issue known as hydrogen embrittlement could be causing some bolts to break. This is where hydrogen contaminates steel, causing the bolt to become brittle and break. Yeah, tell us something we don't know.
Oh, especially you, the FTR expert on hydrogen embrittlement. Okay.
Well, that's Carmen, but the concern is if widespread hydrogen embrittlement or bolt cracking exists, many bolts will have to be replaced at an expense that could total tens of millions of dollars. A hydrogen embrittlement problem existed in the construction of the Bay Bridge in San Francisco. Testing and repairs ultimately totaled more than $50 million.
Right. We dealt with that at the time, and that was fascinating. And Carmen brought that to our attention too.
Well, that was everywhere, and he had a hand in that, as did a lot of other experts that everybody knows and a lot that people don't know. But I don't know if he's getting involved in this or not, or how he's related to it other than just seeing the story. But he did mention to me that he had worked with one of the reporters responsible for this story, and he worked with that guy during the Bay Bridge situation a couple of years back.
Oh, okay.
The story goes on to mention all the requisite finger pointing you'd expect, and no word on who the manufacturer is. And actually, the way the story's written, it's focused more on the corruption side of it, like trying to bury the problem rather than what the problem actually could have been caused by. But we're going to watch this unfold, everybody.
Right. Well, the A490 bolts, so there's probably a local manufacturer.
It would be interesting to know actually how many of them were broken. They mentioned 60 in the story, but it was really vague. I didn't want to throw that into the quotes that I read.
Right.
And over 1 million used in the project. So you don't really get a good feel about what the scale of this thing is. I mean, it doesn't seem like the reporters really, although, Carmen did say that the one reporter has experience on the Bay Bridge. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, it needs to be investigated because, ultimately the standards for structural bolts were revised in the light of the problems on the Bay Bridge. And so if there's a change needs to be made in order to make things stronger and better and safer, then that's the good part that comes out of it.
Well, as I said, it was pretty thematic because we're going to cut now to an interview that I did recently with Carmen Vertullo and his partner Rob LaPointe at AIM Test Lab, along with their special soon-to-be-revealed guest. Thanks for listening, everybody. It's Fully Threaded Radio. We're going to get to that story now.
Good.
Frequent listeners to Fully Threaded Radio certainly know the Fastener Training Minute with Carmen Vertullo. And if you've got a close ear, you might have noticed that recently Carmen started referring to the AIM lab or the AIM testing lab. And he was always talking about Carver Consulting for sure, but that seems to have rolled into AIM Labs. So I figured we'd actually ask Carm onto the podcast along with his partner, Rob LaPointe, and they could give us a little bit of a explanation about what's going on over there at AIM. So now joining us, as well as another guest who I think everybody will know in the fastener industry, and we'll announce in just a minute, from beautiful San Diego, and I guess the AIM Test Lab, it's Carmen Vertullo and Rob LaPointe. Thank you for joining us for a segment, gentlemen.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric. This is Carmen here, and it's a good question that you asked, and we are very happy and privileged to be able to answer it on your show. So a few months ago, well, maybe several months ago now, I was experiencing the need for some lab work with the Carver Fact Center, and it turns out it's not that easy to get good attention from a lab. And I was contemplating a way around that. And at the same time, exactly just about, Rob LaPointe approached me. He became available, and we talked about establishing a lab, a Fastener Test Lab. And one thing led to another, and we did that. And so at this stage of the game, the Carver Fact Center still exists, but all of our fastener work, our consulting, our training, our testing, now in the development of a laboratory, is under AIM Testing Laboratory. And AIM stands for Aerospace, Industrial, Military. And we focus on fasteners, and that's what we do. And I think I'll let Rob tell you a little bit more about the miracle of how we came together on it.
Well, Carmen and I go back a few years. I came into the fastener testing industry about 3.5 years ago, and Carmen was one of the first people I met there. Somebody described us as two peas in a pod. We kind of just clicked in our interest in science and desire to help people and customer service and interaction. So we had some interactions over the past few years. The testing lab here, AIM Testing Laboratory, has become a bit of a dream team project for us. The chance to work together, the chance to be partners in a business, and to really focus the laboratory business in a way that we see the industry's need. So that's been just super exciting. So we've been open for about 6 months now and building our infrastructure, and we're both really excited about it.
Well, I was glad to meet you out in Vegas, Rob, and I got that impression right after we were introduced as well, that you and Carmen seemed to be very well suited for each other and certainly would make a very good team. So I'd have to agree with those that use the pea in the pod analogy. So how was it at Vegas then? How was the initial reception to what you're providing?
Hey, before I tell you that, I just want to reiterate what Rob said and something you said. It's not that we're so much two peas in a pod, that even more important than that are the things that Rob brings to this venture that I never could or would want to be able to bring, and the things that I am capable and willing and able to do that Rob is not that interested in. So we have a lot of overlap, but what's really significant is between the two of us, we cover a significant amount of bases in experience, in ability, in the knowledge of the industry and the product. Rob's, I don't know if you know, he's a teacher. He's a physicist, chemistry and physics professor. And I'm a manufacturing engineer. It's my background. And so we have a pretty wide range of territory covered between us. So it's more what we have that's different from each other than what we have in common.
A lot of complement.
Okay, got it. Right. So we've got wall-to-wall credentials, and you're putting your chocolate in his peanut butter, and it's going to be something really great.
You know how to edit that part out, right?
So then coming back to my question, I mean, what was the initial reaction out there in Vegas? I mean, that was really one of your first public, your chances of telling the public about what you're up to.
The show was great. And I have to say, and I told the show management this, we were in that show. It's your fault. So if it was a bad time, we would have blamed you, but it was a great time. So you get the credit, because I don't remember if you recall a conversation you and I had where you asked and I said, it's too early. We don't have the money. We don't have the time. We got accreditation coming up. And you said, you need to be in that show. Just make it happen. Do whatever you have to do to be there, Carmen. And we did.
Yeah. You said it was the Super Bowl. Yeah. We had to play.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much the way I see it. And and I appreciate you pointing that out. But what did people say? I mean, what were your reactions?
They were overwhelmingly positive and great. The show was good for us. We had a lot of traffic every minute that we were there. We affirmed some existing relationships. We made some new ones. We got some attention from some clients that are big hitters that we didn't expect or know would be interested in us. So it was wonderful. I couldn't have asked for it to be any better.
It was good socially too, just to see people that we knew, and just to connect on that personal level. And ultimately, business does come down to personal relationships.
Right. And that's what the shows are great for. So coming out then of the Vegas show, sounds like you have a head of steam, and you're going to be focusing then on some pieces of business that maybe you knew or maybe you didn't know that you'd have. So what are those, and what is AIM Test Lab going to be concentrating on as you get going?
Well, our initial business case was built around testing and consulting and training and funding that startup through equity investment. Well, it turns out that we're doing pretty well. We did not need equity investment. Our consulting side of the business is extremely strong, supporting everything else right now. We are acquiring equipment. As a matter of fact, we just set up our Met Lab here over the weekend. We're in the process of it. Acquiring equipment at a rapid pace, doing training, getting our accreditation arranged for. That's an expensive and time-consuming part of it. So the business model is not exactly what we expected it to be. It's it's better than we expected it to be. And someone's probably, Rob's going to look at me sideways when I say this out loud, but I hope and expect that from our first quarter forward, this business will stay in the black continuously.
No sideways look, by the way.
Okay, no sideways look. All right.
We've been really, really blessed to have good customer support so far, and we're fiscally managing things very well and building the company at the rate that it can be built, and the customers are allowing that to be quicker than we'd thought. So building those relationships seems to be consistent with building the business.
You know, we initially also had in our business case, Rob mentioned the term dream team in the beginning, a team of come alongside both technical, business, and just cheerleaders. And one of them has invested in our business, not in an ownership way that's helped us get off the ground in an almost miraculous fashion that we would not have planned for. So, you know, we write these great plans and they're still good, but things happen that you don't expect that are better than what you had planned. And we love that. But one of the things that happened when we wrote the business case, and I sent it out to several close friends that I considered mentors and advisors, and we got universal acceptance and encouragement about it being a good idea that, yes, the industry does need this kind of a new laboratory consulting and training type venture that you've gotten. And the first person to reply back to me was our guest here that's with us today, Joe Greenslade. And when we got Joe's affirmation back, it was like, I think I cried. It was so significant for us to have someone like Joe read it and affirm that it was a good idea. And he didn't even know Rob at the time. Joe and I have been working together in training programs for many years. So we knew each other. And so it means the world to have people come alongside us that are not just customers, but of course customers matter, but just other people as we put our technical advisory board together and having Joe participate in that. So I want to introduce Joe Greenslade to you.
Right. Well, let me just briefly say that for some of our younger listeners, Joe Greenslade is a Fastener Industry Hall of Famer. He's certainly one of the most knowledgeable fastener guys you'd ever want to know. He's a technical guy. He's an inventor. He's a history guy. He's the inventor of or the creator of the IFI technology connection, if I recall correctly. And it's been a long time since we've had you on the podcast, Joe, but thank you for speaking with us, and thanks for helping these two guys out.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here.
What brings you out to San Diego?
Prior to my retirement in 2015, actually going back to 2010, I started volunteering as a mentor at the high school I graduated from in Fort Worth, Texas, to help low socioeconomic students who will be first-generation college students to prepare for college. And so when I retired, I've put a great deal of my time and emphasis on working in that program. And the program is called AVID, A-V-I-D, Advancement via Individual Determination. That's about a 40-year-old nationwide program. And so I started doing some things within the program to help the students make better selections on college majors and the colleges to attend that got the attention of the national organization. And so I am out here in San Diego as one of the speakers at the conference that had about 2,000 attendees this year. So education is my passion, going back into the fastener industry as well, but now I'm trying to help young people to reach their ultimate capabilities and have fulfilling lives. So it's a very rewarding retirement occupation.
Yeah, that sounds like a very commendable way to spend your time. And so, guys, then it seems like it was very logical for you to have your board of directors meeting at this time, and that's what you're doing. What business are you covering, and what should we expect to see from AIM Test Labs coming out of it?
Well, I'd like to comment on this, that following up on what Carmen said, when Carmen sent me his suggestion or his business plan and asking for my input, I was thrilled to receive it based on my extensive experience in helping people with quality and technical issues. There's not enough bona fide good information available to fastener suppliers. And I spent a great deal of my time taking customer questions that were really about symptoms and helping them find the root causes and then finding the logical solutions to those. When people go to just normal commercial laboratories, they can get test results that they, based on tests they ask for, but they're not always asking for the right information nor getting the benefit of an appropriate analysis of that information. And that's the real focus of AIM, is to take people's dilemmas or plans and help them to make very logical decisions about root emphasis to save them time, effort, and to be better suppliers. So AIM is very unique in that I offered to be one of the equity investors just because I believed in what they were doing. I wanted to see them get off the ground, and I'm very pleased that I don't need to do that. Not that I wouldn't in a moment, but I love for people to do their own thing and, where possible, maintain ownership as tightly as possible. And I have every confidence that AIM is going to be very successful in the future.
But Joe's more importantly, the contribution of your knowledge and your support, and just knowing we're all connected together with you. That's so much more to us. And we really, really appreciate you.
You know, Eric, when we first put our business case together, one of the motivating factors that we ran up against was the fact that in my consulting business, in Rob's work in the laboratory business, it seemed like we were putting a lot of time and effort for our clients into solving problems and dealing with crises. Hydrogen embrittlement, for example. You know, it seemed like a month didn't go by when we didn't have one or two HE problems to deal with.
Well, let's stamp that out in our lifetime. That's what I say.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's got to go. But it's so much more gratifying to teach or bring a client along in terms of managing and eliminating that risk than it is to have to deal with the case when it occurs. The time, even for a lab, I mean, even though we're very good at working those problems, we would much, much rather spend time with a client putting in a HE risk management program or any kind of risk management program than we would like to be doing testing and proving that somebody did something wrong or someone did something right, or dealing with the implications of do we have to recall product or remove something from a system that's already been installed. And it's stressful and not any fun. So this whole concept of risk management, risk reduction, risk elimination, wherever we can through testing, training, and consulting, that's our thing. That's where we're at with it.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing a lot more about AIM Test Lab as we go along here on the podcast, and I'm sure we will. Joe, I'd also like to extend an invitation to you to return to Fully Threaded Radio. It's been years, actually, since we spoke to you. It's good to hear your voice again, but I hope you'll come back and talk with us more about what you've been up to.
Yeah, be glad to do that. Thank you very much.
Hey, Eric, before you let us go, I don't know when this is going to be broadcast, what date. I assume sometime in December or January. But on December the 21st, the Fastener Training Institute and I will be doing one of our standard webinars, except this one is free, and it's going to be highlighting some of the resources, Fastener technical resources that are available that are new. One of those is an invention of Joe's called the IFI's Fastener Technology Connection. And it's an amazing online resource for all things relating to fasteners. It's a subscription service, as well as the new IFI 2018 Fastener Standards book. We might want to call that the 10th edition because it follows the 9th edition, but it's actually the 2018 book. Some new resources for getting your hands on isometric standards compilations, and a few other tricks of the trade that those of us that use fastener standards every day know about acquiring and getting that kind of technical information. So two things you should know. Joe is still involved at the IFI in terms of developing those technical resources. Is that correct? I don't want to speak out of line with that, and thank God for that. And we just have, his legacy, even before the technology connection came along, of equipment he's designed and things he's done with the standards committees are just amazing.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, actually, because somebody's got to keep that young snapper Dan Walker in line.
All right. Well. Anyway, I think this will probably not be broadcast before December the 21st. So
no, but I was going to ask you this question, Carm. The webinars are now available on demand through the Training Institute, correct?
That's correct. And this one will be as well. It'll be recorded and available on demand.
Got it. Well, all of our listeners who heard episode 134 and the Fastener Training Minute on that episode would have heard you speak
That's correct.
at length about those resources and how valuable they are. So thank you for mentioning that.
All right.
Well, there's a website which will be coming soon for AIM Test Lab. That's www.aimtestlab.com, cleverly. And I've been told that the phone number and all the contact info will be at that address very shortly. And so I hope everybody who is interested in learning more will do so, or just stay tuned to Fully Threaded Radio. Y'all knew that. Well, gentlemen, you have a board meeting to run, and I hope that's very productive. And then I got word that after that, some surfing was going to happen. Is that true?
We're in San Diego. Why else do you think
surfing while drinking martinis?
I just want to know who's going to be using the iPhone to record all this, because I expect to see it all on YouTube soon.
Yeah.
We'll be web surfing.
We'll have GoPros.
We've been talking with Carmen Vertullo and Rob LaPointe of AIM Test Lab. And, of course, their advisor and mentor, Joe Greenslade, was with us as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks.
It's Fully Threaded Radio. We'll be back in a minute.
Once you're in this industry, you're not getting out. Good thing there's Fully Threaded Radio. Talk radio for the fastener industry.
BTM Manufacturing is a domestic ISO 9001 manufacturer of threaded fasteners and bent wire products. From anchor bolts to studs to U-bolts, BTM is committed to making your per print special with the highest quality standards while meeting your on-time delivery schedule. Since BTM began in 1961, this family-owned business has remained focused on providing exceptional service to their customers. Centrally located in Kansas City, Missouri, BTM recently expanded into a 100,000 square foot facility, which allows for the production and manufacture of many projects simultaneously, both large and small quantity. BTM's website at btm-mfg.com allows you to submit custom quotes quickly and easily, and once you do, a BTM team member will contact you as soon as possible to discuss your needs. Are you ready to get started? BTM is. Visit www.btm-mfg.com today. When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001, 2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stelfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stelfast today through our website at www.stelfast.com and put us to work for you. Stelfast. Service you deserve, people you trust. Hey Fastener professionals, one of the most anticipated events in the fastener industry is just around the corner. Make plans today to attend Mack Brooks Fastener Fair USA, which takes place in Detroit May 22nd and 23rd, 2019. Over 300 companies from around the world will exhibit at Fastener Fair USA in 2019, showcasing the latest solutions for key industries like automotive, aerospace, construction, power gen, MRO, and more. In addition to exhibits during 2 full days on the show floor, you'll find plenty of topical information and technical and distribution conference sessions and networking events, such as the opening night reception. No matter where you fall in the supply chain, Fastener Fair USA is your opportunity to join more than 2,000 manufacturers, suppliers, distributors, and end users in the heart of the Midwest at Detroit's Cobo Center, May 22nd and 23rd, 2019. For more information and to register today, go to www.fastenerfair.com/USA. See you at Mack Brooks Fastener Fair USA.
This is Bill Johansson from Delta Secondary in Bensonville, Illinois, the fastener distributor source for all specials and secondary operations. And you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you, having more fun than a barrel full of Stelfast monkeys.
Blue ones, I guess, from the last year, most recent.
With a cape.
Yeah, right.
They were very nice monkeys this year. We'll hear more about that as we close the podcast out today, everyone. This is the news segment of the podcast, and we always like to keep you also at this time up to date with upcoming fastener industry events. And there are some big ones coming up, Bri.
Good.
We'll hear more about this when Kelly Cole joins us in our feature segment. But if you possibly can, do not fail to get out to San Diego, because March 13th through the 16th is a huge association get-together featuring the NFDA, the PAC West, and the MWFA. First time that's ever happened. It's a joint conference happening at the Omni San Diego Hotel. Details are available at the website nfda-fastener.org. They got a huge lineup, and I'm guessing there's going to be north of 400 people there, Bri.
Well, you and I went to the much smaller one last year in Long Beach, and that was a terrific do. That was PAC West and NFDA, so with all our Midwest people, it will make it even better.
I concur. See you there. Now, we're just catching our breath, it seems, from the big Vegas show, but it's time to start thinking about upcoming shows. And, of course, everyone knows Fastener Fair USA is the new kid on the block. They're billing this as the most anticipated event in the fastener industry, which is just around the corner. And the folks at Mack Brooks are inviting you to make plans today to attend Fastener Fair USA in Detroit, May 22nd and 23rd. Now, as most people know, Bri, this is a show that has a wider audience, or at least a wider intended audience. And it's going to be interesting in Detroit this year. First of all, because it's the second year, and last year in Cleveland was pretty successful. But also because of that particular market. I mean, it's going to be a new group of people, and we haven't had a fastener trade show up there in a long time, if ever.
Yeah, ever's a long time. Well, the Mack Brooks people, they're pretty good at organizing, okay? As we found out from the show last year.
Again, that's May 22nd and 23rd in Detroit, Fastener Fair USA. The website for that, to get details and to get your booth, fastenerfair.com/USA. And I think everybody in the industry knows Fastener Tech, and Fastener Tech 19 is happening June 5th and 6th. This year, they've shaken it up a little, Bri. So they've added a few things, including a keynote speaker breakfast session prior to the opening show. And their after-show party is always very well attended and something that you don't want to miss.
Yeah, it's a great place just to meet all your business acquaintances and friends and whatever, everyone in the fastener industry. And there are a lot of them in the Midwest, okay?
Got a note here from Nancy Rich pointing out that the early bird rate for booths is still in effect. Register now, save $200 off your booth.
Wow, seems like a great deal.
I don't have a precise link for this one, but I know if you go to fastenertech.com, there's a link to it. We've had a lot of fun over the years at Fastener Tech. It's super easy to get to because it's right near O'Hare Airport, and that venue it's really a world-class venue. It's turned into that, and some of the bars and entertainment options right adjacent to it are hard to beat, especially if you're like Brian and Baron Yarborough, who love to karaoke.
Oh, God. Yeah, Baron, okay, not me, okay.
Are you and Baron working on your duet this year already?
No. For some reason, Baron didn't ask me this year. I think I know why.
Hey, everybody, the Fastener News Report with Mike McNulty is coming up in just a minute, this time sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics. We sure do appreciate you listening to the show, and we'd love to hear your input, feedback, questions, suggestions, so forth. The email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com, and if you get out to Twitter, our handle's fullythreaded. Hey, Brad, what do you think Mike McNulty's office looks like? I mean, is he in a kind of a cluttered area, or is it all nice and orderly? What do you imagine when you hear him reading off the Fastener headlines?
I don't imagine Mike surrounded by any clutter at all, okay? Very nice and clean and organized. That's how I imagine it.
With American flags in the background draped everywhere?
No, with Brown's T-shirts all over the place.
Right. And American flags, yeah.
Right. And probably, I think they might have won another game recently, haven't they? I'm sure Mike's having trouble not being distracted.
Right. Well, that's because he's focused, Bri.
I know. You're right. Just as well. We rely on that, okay? Thanks, Mike.
That's right. Thank you, Mike. And with that, here's some news about screws you can use. It's the Fastener News Report.
Thanks, Brian and Eric. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. So the Cleveland Browns have now won 3 of their last 5 games, and the Ohio State Buckeyes dropped 62 football points on Jim Harbaugh and his Michigan Wolverines. But I am still focused on fasteners and ready to deliver today's Fastener News Report. In this episode, we will reveal the latest results of the Fastener Distributor Index, also known as the FDI. Also in today's broadcast, we have our top story on GL Hewitt and newsmaker headlines from Nucor, Wind Supply, Hillman Group, Penn Engineering, BTM Manufacturing, Freeway Rockford, Semblix, and many more. On the back page report, we're going to talk about our annual Las Vegas Fastener Show report. We'll get to all of that and the latest FDI results right after this.
Whether you need a small or large number of fasteners, there is no reason why you should have to sacrifice quality or service for that matter. Volt Industrial Plastics takes great care with each and every order to ensure you receive a quality fastener in a timely and affordable manner. Our state-of-the-art production equipment allows us to produce any quantity you request quickly and efficiently. And with same-day shipping on nearly 1 million in-stock fasteners, we carry an inventory so you don't have to. Visit us online at voltplastics.com to find out more about our quality American-made products. Volt Industrial Plastics, manufacturer of the finest plastic fasteners in the world.
BTM Manufacturing is a domestic ISO 9001 manufacturer of threaded fasteners and bent wire products. From anchor bolts to studs to U-bolts, BTM is committed to making your per print special with the highest quality standards while meeting your on-time delivery schedule. Since BTM began in 1961, this family-owned business has remained focused on providing exceptional service to their customers. Centrally located in Kansas City, Missouri, BTM recently expanded into a 100,000 square foot facility, which allows for the production and manufacture of many projects simultaneously, both large and small quantity. BTM's website at btm-mfg.com allows you to submit custom quotes quickly and easily, and once you do, a BTM team member will contact you as soon as possible to discuss your needs. Are you ready to get started? BTM is. Visit www.btm-mfg.com today.
I don't have time to look for the best price for a socket head cap screw zinc plated with a patch.
Solution Man can. Let me handle all of your secondary processes, and I'll even ship the finished product. One price, one purchase order, one invoice, and one shipment equals one solution. Visit the Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Solution Man, you're my primary source for secondary processes.
Good one.
Back to the Fastener News Report with Mike McNulty.
The seasonally adjusted FDI reading for November retreated slightly to 58.2 after its 62.2 result in October. Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by the FCH Sourcing Network, the National Fastener Distributors Association, and Baird. The FDI seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener distribution industry. To get some insights on these results, we talked to RW Baird analyst David Manthey. Hi, Dave. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Hi, Mike. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you back. What can you tell us about the latest FDI results?
All right. So we have some moving pieces this particular month. First of all, on the FDI overall, as you said, 58.2. That was lower than the prior month, which was 62.2. And also below the year-to-date average of 60.4. So for 2018 overall, even though we're fading a little bit at the end here as a year, we've seen most of the readings over 60 and the highest average reading annually in the 7-year history of the survey. The real question here is, with 2 of the last 3 months showing moderating growth, the forward-looking indicator showing a weaker reading. The economy generally looks okay right now, but I think we may be seeing some cracks forming in the foundation, and the real question is, what will 2019 bring?
That's the big question. We'll get to that later in the show. You mentioned briefly that the forward-looking indicator, which was put in as a new indicator this year, that it dipped moderately, and I think dropped down to 52.5 after 57 last month in October. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right. 52.5. It's somewhat troubling, really, and we'll see what happens here. I think there may be some seasonal factors in November and December. You've got weather, you've got a lot of holidays. There's a number of things that we may not be able to factor out statistically, but the reading itself at 52.5 was well below the 59.2 year-to-date average, and it was actually the lowest reading we've seen since November of 2016. So it's something we're definitely watching. I think also, interestingly, this week we heard from the National Federation of Independent Businesses, their November survey, and this is mainly small businesses as well, showed the least favorable 6-month outlook that survey has seen since 2016. So we are starting to see some of the tea leaves align here, that growth is moderating a bit, and there are some questions about 2019.
Yeah, that's a 2-year low. That's a significant development. Also, looking at the 6-month outlook numbers, which are part of that forward-looking indicator, we're down to only 37% people expecting things to be better 6 months from now, but an 18 expecting it to be lower. That seems to be a shift, too, from the rest of this year.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of a mixed tone as it relates to the current trends, and then over the next 6 months, 37% are expecting a higher activity level over the next 6 months, and with the exception of September of this year, which was a little bit lower than that. That too is the lowest we've seen since 2016. And some of the commentary I think around the outlook here is pretty interesting. One respondent talked about the tariffs as an invisible panic, which I think is a great analogy, a great way to put it. One just outright said a recession is coming. And another said that the first half of 2018 was stronger than the second half. So I think in general, some less optimistic commentary than we're used to hearing through the survey, at least through the first 6 months of this year. It seems like some of the doubts that we heard about, mid-year and after are starting to materialize into some slowing growth.
Yeah, it seemed there was more comments than usual, and if anybody is participating in this process, they get your whole PDF report that has them in detail. But one of them that jumped out to me that they said November is traditionally lower than October, but still 30% better than it was last year. So even though the numbers are tempering off and settling down, it's still overall a big bump this year, 2018 versus 2017. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's definitely true. And, being focused on the stock market and tracking stocks for a living, we're always looking around the corner, seeing what's happening next. So, yes, to be fair, 2018, a fantastic year, great year of growth. But, of course, in my day job, I have to think about what's happening next.
Right. Now, you mentioned the stock market, and also, I know you track Fastenal. What are you seeing with Fastenal as well as the general stock market?
Yeah, I think it's a similar trend there. Fastenal's November daily sales were up just over 12%, which was really in line with what we were looking for. The underlying organic number there was exactly equal to October. Good, steady growth across manufacturing, non-residential construction. So really very consistent results. As we look forward here into 2019 and try to forecast what Fastenal is going to do, my sense is what you should expect is that volume growth will moderate. The year-over-year comparisons start to get more difficult, and maybe the economy is slowing slightly. So I'd expect volumes in general to come off a bit, although we are also expecting some of these tariff-driven price increases to be an offset to that. So even though the overall headline number will likely moderate slightly, there's some moving parts there as price goes even higher in 2019 than 2018, and volume probably comes off a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, and I think, price increases in the fastener industry have been few and far between, so maybe it's not such a bad thing.
I would agree with that. I think the hope, really, the best case scenario for fastener distributors is that we all do the hard work and get the price increases from the customers, and then maybe Trump wakes up one morning and tweets that all the tariffs are off, and those get rolled back the next day, and then we can benefit to some extent in that lag period while we get the pricing from customers, but don't have to pay it to suppliers. That would be ideal. I don't know that that'll happen, but certainly that is an option here. And it's something that people who watch Fastenal are maybe hoping for.
And they could invest the retained earnings.
Right.
Good. All right. Now, we mentioned 2019 a couple times, and you want to, this is the last Fastener News Report of the year. You want to pull out your crystal ball and make any bold predictions for 2019 or anything you're looking down the road here?
Sure. So as we're thinking about the future and looking ahead, obviously what we're seeing right now in the market, the stock market, which is sort of a forward-looking indicator usually of what is coming in the economy. The S&P 500 officially registered a 10% correction here recently, and we've seen a significant jump in volatility. From the investors we talk to, we're hearing a lot about concerns on rising interest rates, the trade/tariff issues, and generally just a slowing U.S. economy. So I think as we look ahead, that is the expectation that we're going to see some slowing. And frankly, what we've seen in GDP here recently, Mike, is when you look at the second quarter, overall GDP growth was over 4% in real terms. In the third quarter, about 3.5%. And then today, the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta has this indicator called the GDP Now, which is sort of a real-time forecast on GDP. They're looking for just 2.4% in the fourth quarter. That's consistent with what we're expecting. Since mid-year this year, we've taken kind of a neutral approach to our coverage list, and the main reason for that is we do expect growth to come off. We expect the ISM to go from 60 to something less than that. And I think the bottom line here is, there's some fear and rationality returning to the market. I don't know if it turns into something bigger than that, but certainly the financial markets, the economic data, and respondents to surveys like the FDI are certainly signaling caution, which I would concur with. I think that's the right view, that things will at least moderate in 2019, and we'll have to wait and see if it turns into something bigger, but that's what it looks like right now. As it relates to Baird, we're real proud to say that 2019 will mark our 100th year in business, and personally it's my 25th year, so great year for anniversaries, great year for Baird, and myself personally, so I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah. So 25 is what, a silver anniversary, and what would be 100?
I'm not sure what 100 is. It's a long time to be in business.
A big one.
It's obviously it's a tough business, and we've done things the right way for a long time. So I'm very fortunate to be with a great firm, and that's why I've been there as long as I have. I've never seen a reason to go anywhere else. It's the best place to be.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear, and congratulations to Baird and to you on the anniversaries. And thanks for all your work that you do on the FDI throughout the year. And thanks again for joining us and closing out one of the better years, as you said, in 7 years of doing the FDI. One of the the best ever, I guess, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's my pleasure, Mike. Thank you very much for letting us do it.
All right, we'll talk to you after the new year. So have a good holiday and a happy new year.
Same to you. Thank you.
That was Dave Manthey of Baird. The FDI number for November was 58.2 versus 62.2 in October. Visit FDIsurvey.com to participate in the process and get a detailed PDF copy of Baird's monthly analysis. Now for today's top story. Master distributor and manufacturer GL Hewitt has received 48 Section 232 tariff exclusions for stainless steel bar. The criteria for exclusions was raw materials, quote, not produced in the USA in a sufficient and reasonably available amount or of a satisfactory quality, and upon specific national security considerations, unquote. To date, there have been over 40,000 requests submitted, of which about half have received public objection from domestic producers or similar stakeholders. As of November 1st, 2018, the Commerce Department had approved fewer than 5,000 exclusions. This is a big win for us, said GL Hewitt's Zach Chamberlain. He added, quote, we have another 15 exclusions pending, all of which have passed the public comment period with no objections, unquote. Next up, today's Fastener Newsmaker headlines. In acquisition, expansion, and investment news, Nucor Corporation is acquiring Corporación POK, a precision castings company in Mexico. Wind Supply Incorporated has purchased MSI Supply. Hillman Group is relocating its Canadian National Distribution Center and head office to a newly designed 400,000 square foot facility in Toronto. The Bassard Group is taking over the business of Linquan Precision in Suzhou, China. Penn Engineering has signed a distribution agreement with Irwin Industrial in Canada. And ASG, a division of Juergens, has opened a warehouse in Limerick, Ireland. In personnel news, Dan Zedner will be the new Vice President of North American Sales Organization for the business of Agri-Solutions in Wisconsin. BTM Manufacturing has announced that its president, Jake Davis, has been elected Vice President of the Southwest Fastener Association. Bufab has recruited Johann Sandberg as Global Business Development Director and a new member of the executive management team. Stefan Hettich of Hecko Schrauben in Germany has retired from operations management, leaving his brother Guido Hettich as the sole managing director. In milestones, awards, and contract, Freeway Rockford is now 50 years old. Ramco Specialties has received the General Motors Supplier Quality Excellence Award. Semblex Corporation was chosen to receive EJOT Achievement Awards. And Bolton reported winning a 5-year, €25 million contract for supplying fasteners for electrical vehicles in Europe. In trade show news, Fastener Fair Stuttgart is reporting record exhibitor space bookings, and Fastener Tech 19 has announced new features, including new product displays, an after party for exhibitors, a breakfast keynote speaker, and several education seminars. You can get details on all of these stories and more in Fastener Technology International magazine and in the Fastener News Report newsletter, both available at fastenertech.com. Finally, let's turn to the back page to talk about our annual Las Vegas Fastener Show report. Another Industrial Fastener Expo, also known as IFE, or as Eric likes to say, IFE, is in the books, and once again, it attracted thousands of fastener professionals to fabulous Las Vegas to see hundreds of fastener industry exhibitors, about 10% fewer than last year. According to our unofficial count, 57%, or 388 of the exhibitors came from the USA, the same share as in 2017, and the rest came mostly from Asia, with a sprinkling of European and Canadian companies thrown into the mix. China's share of exhibitors dropped by nearly 5% to 20.5%, or 140 exhibitors, while Taiwan and India had slight gains with 88 and 17 exhibitors, respectively. Overall, the highlights for me were the exhibits and the people. I also enjoyed the presentation on USA tariffs and trade policies, the networking receptions, the awards ceremony, and Nevada's clear blue skies. I always appreciate the Las Vegas Fastener Show, and 2018 was well executed, except for the positioning of the machinery exhibits and the strong presence of vendors of non-fastener related products. We published our Straight from the Show report on IFE 2018 in the December-January issue of Fastener Technology International, and it includes dozens of good pictures and comments, starting on pages 62 and 104 of the print and digital edition, which is available at fastenertech.com. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International, bringing you the Fastener News Report. Please send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
Let's begin, pal. NFDA President Kelly Cole's up next. Thanks for listening, everyone. It's Fully Threaded. ND Industries has been solving customers' toughest problems through innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service since 1955. A family-owned business, ND Industries manufactures and applies fastener locking, bonding, sealing, masking, and assembling products. Their pre-application process makes fasteners ready to use at the point of assembly, resulting in reduced labor costs, time savings, and superior quality assurance. As a fully integrated company, ND handles all aspects of operations, from formulating custom chemical compounds and coating fasteners to providing inline inspection, packaging, and delivery services. ND Industries serves the global market with 13 divisions in the continental U.S. and also facilities in Taiwan, China, and Turkey. Learn more about ND Industries at our website at www.ndindustries.com. ND Industries, innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service. Contact ND today.
Since 1905, Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company have been supplying the world with high-quality fasteners. Our standard product lines include weld fasteners, braided weld screws, leg levelers, self-clinching hardware, clevis pins, rivet nuts, and various other fastener lines, allowing us to support virtually all types of industries. We have complete custom manufacturing capabilities in low carbon, medium carbon, and stainless steel materials, and our quality systems are registered to ISO standards. Our on-staff engineering department can assist you with product development and provide total technical support. Our knowledgeable sales team members offer superior customer service and are here to answer any questions you may have regarding our products. Having a hard time finding a part? Let our sourcing specialists do the work for you to locate those items. We offer competitive pricing with typically smaller minimums and shorter lead times. To find out more about Buckeye Fasteners, please call us at 800-437-1689 or on the web at buckeyefasteners.com. Buckeye Fasteners, more than just weld.
Parker Fasteners is your premier cold heading manufacturer, forging the future with precision and quality as our top priority. When you think of domestically produced sockets and tamper-proof screws from alloy and stainless, including A286, think Parker Fasteners. Our lockout line of security fasteners feature high-torque, oval center pin design, and unique lobes that provide one-of-a-kind security for your customers. Our in-house 3D printing capability makes the prototyping process fast and affordable, and we're ready to produce your large or small run orders with highly competitive pricing and unbeatable lead times. So, forge the future with Parker Fasteners. Visit Parker Fasteners online today at parkerfasteners.com.
Well, hey, everybody, this is Carmen Vertullo with your Fastener Training Minute, coming to you from AIM Testing Laboratory and the Fastener Training Institute. I received a question in the email yesterday regarding salt spray testing, and the question basically was, how many years is 96 hours of a salt spray test good for when my fasteners are out in the field? Well, this question comes up a lot. The bad news is there is no answer to it, but the good news is there are a few things that you should know as a fastener supplier about salt spray testing that can help inform this question. So when we return, I'll tell you the least you need to know about salt spray testing.
Thanks, Carmen. This is Joe Morris with the Fastener Training Institute. I hope everyone is enjoying this festive time of year and taking some time to just chill with some friends and family to celebrate the holidays. I know that I like to socialize, and I will be attending some holiday parties, but I also like to reflect on the year, be thankful for everything, and consider how next year can be even better. One milestone that the Fastener Training Institute has reached this year is the official launch of our online learning library. We currently have over 30 training videos online that you can access to train your entire team. Topics include fastener basics, metrics, platings and coatings, structural bolting, understanding PPAPs, and many, many more, with 11 new topics planned for 2019. Personal and staff development has never been more attainable than now with FTI's offering of training courses. And the online learning library offers flexibility, anywhere access, and anytime access for students to learn and grow. All of FTI training videos are developed and instructed by industry experts with real-life experience. Reference materials and quizzes accompany the lessons, so students have practical and relevant data to bring back to the workplace with them. Whether you're training a new employee, cross-training, or strengthening your fastener intellect, there are plenty of pertinent topics available for absolutely everybody. Please visit our website at www.fastenertraining.org, then click on the Learning Library tab to view all of our training videos. You can also purchase an annual subscription and have access to all the training videos at a really great price. Email me if you'd like more information or to build a custom program just for you. Now let's talk about some live classes. December 18th, we will host Fastener Basics in Los Angeles, California. There's still time to register for this great class that combines the highlights of our 3-part product training program into one day of valuable fundamental information. Then 2019 classes start on February 15th. We will host Product Training Part 1 in Los Angeles, California, followed by Part 2 on March 19th, and Part 3 will be on April 19th. Visit our website for a complete list of all of our classes in 2019. Once again, thank you to everyone who has supported the Fastener Training Institute. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season, and I look forward to training you in 2019. Now back to Carmen.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Carmen Vertullo to talk to you about salt spray testing on the Fastener Training Minute. You've often heard when a customer is looking for a coating to protect their fasteners or any other item from corrosion, the parameter for that protection is how many hours of salt spray testing can it withstand. Well, salt spray test is an ASTM test, comes from ASTM B117, and it basically exposes the coating on the product inside of a chamber to a salt mist. It's 5% NaCl, sodium chloride, that's nerdish for salt, and it stays in there for a certain amount of time, and after that amount of time, it gets checked, and there are two parameters. The first parameter is how many hours will the item hold up under salt spray testing until we see what's called a white corrosion product. That tells us that the coating is being affected. The second parameter is how many hours before we see red rust. And that tells us we have now lost the coating and the base metal is begun to corrode. Now with the zinc plating, which is the most common coating that we see on fasteners, say from F1941, F1941M, the very lightest zinc coating at 3 microns is only good for about 6 hours to white corrosion and 12 hours to red rust for zinc. As we increase the thickness of the coating and improve the top coating, and the top coating has everything to do with corrosion resistance, that can go to as high as maybe 24 hours and 24 hours or 96 hours even. Now, the thicker the coating and the better the top coating, the better the corrosion resistance. There's a table in F1941 that calls this out. We don't have enough time to talk about that. The question is, can we relate that 96 hours to some number of months or years in the field? And the answer is no. What we can do is compare one coating to another or ensure that when a coating is placed on a fastener that it meets those minimum requirements. That's what the test is designed to do, not to give us an estimate of how long the item might last out in the world. Now, you've also heard of some coatings that have very long salt spray test requirements, such as 1,000 hours. And those would typically be our dip spin coatings, such as the Magni and the Geomet coatings, which have 500, 1,000, 1,500 hours. We have some amazing coatings that can go 2,000 hours and beyond out there now. So one of the issues we have with fasteners is we have drives and threads, so we can't have a very thick coating. We have to be careful about that. You've also heard of hot dip galvanizing. Hot dip galvanizing is one of the best coatings that we have. It's not very pretty, but it lasts a long time. It's thick. It doesn't withstand salt spray testing very well because for hot dip galvanizing to work, it's got to be exposed to the weather and dried and exposed and dried, and it gets this patina on it, and that's where its corrosion resistance comes from. And the salt spray chamber, we never let up. It just sprays on it all the time. The zinc deteriorates, and we get less than what would be a true performance with hot dip galvanizing in the salt spray chamber. So as a fastener supplier, what you need to be able to say to your customer is, we don't know how long that item will last, but we do know this coating is better or superior to this other coating based on the salt spray performance. And another thing to be very careful about is the salt spray test is intended to be done at the time the coating is applied, not sometime after it. Like the part has been shipped, it's been on the water, it comes into the U.S., the customer gets it, it's rattling around in a box, because some of the newer top coatings, which are not hexavalent chrome, do not withstand being shipped very well. They're not self-healing, so they don't hold up to the salt spray test as well. In fact, F1941, F1941M has a designation for non-hexavalent chromate top coats, and when we apply the non-hexavalent top coat, the salt spray test goes way down in the terms of its requirement. Now, that's not to say that your plater may be able to provide a non-hexavalent chrome with good salt spray testing. It's just not required by F1941, F1941M when we don't use hexavalent chrome. Well, that's the minimum that you need to know about salt spray testing. This has been Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute. Thanks for listening.
Coming to you live from a much larger desk drawer, this is Jake Davis with BTM Manufacturing, and you are listening to my friends Brian and Eric on Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian Musker, Eric Dudas, back with you with more predominantly fastener-related yammer. You're here too, right, Brian?
I am, yeah. I was here.
Excellente. This time we're joined by a gentleman who hasn't joined us for a feature segment, at least, since way back on episode 84, Brian. That's Kelly Cole. He's the president of the NFDA and general manager of Hayes Bolt out there in San Diego, California. Thanks for joining us again, Kelly.
Hey, glad to be here, guys.
Good. Welcome.
Taking care of yourself?
Absolutely. Got a bunch of new grandkids running around. It brings our total up to 16. So it's an interesting Christmas.
Wow. Yeah, you got your hands full over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, last time we saw you, you were wandering down the aisles of the Vegas show And I must say that you're always one to surprise me with your wardrobe choices, and this time was it was no different. Did you get some comments on that suit? I'll call it.
I have never had my picture taken so many times before. That's putting it mildly, but I kind of expected that more people would be in costume, but I guess no one got the memo. So it was a lot of fun. I was the only one, so it was a lot of attention.
Right. There were a couple of guys in costume, not too many though. You're right, and you were one of them. What they were a jester or kind of like a medieval clown type character?
There you go. Yeah, court jester.
Yeah. Good job. Well, I was looking at the NFDA website, and I saw in sharp contrast to that outfit a picture of you. I don't think I've ever seen you looking quite that dapper, Kelly Cole, as you do in your bust shot on the NFDA site.
Well, so many people see me at the conferences in my typical California shorts and flip-flops, and I do surprise people with when I clean up a little bit. I do have some other clothes.
Right. Well, you clean up real well.
Thank you.
Right. So you're going to be in a contest with Bob GQB, I can see.
Well, I know that you were just on an executive call with the board of the NFDA and attending to your duties out there. Is any big news that you have to share as a result of that, or was this just sort of a business meeting? What was going on? What's going on with the NFDA is what I'm asking.
Our executive group gets together every 2 weeks just to touch bases, make sure we're on point with everything, any new developments that are coming up that is more association responsibilities. So mostly just housekeeping things, making sure we're on track for our next board meeting in January.
Okay. Now, the big news swirling around out there in the industry right now is that the tariff or I should say the increase in the tariff rate that was supposed to be happening at the beginning of the year in January, that was put off 90 days. Is that something that the NFDA is addressing, or what are you hearing about that, Kelly?
The NFDA's, I think we're all just sitting back, just watching this, evolve. I mean, it's pretty much a
like
moving target every day. I think 2 weeks ago we were talking a completely different conversation, and then all of a sudden we have this reprieve for possibly 90 days, and then that goes upside down, and then it goes right side up again. So I mean, every day is a new adventure, right? Today I'm reading, I'm just having to catch a piece of news that. I'd probably kind of like to get some feedback on over the next few weeks is that steel and aluminum tariffs are not hurting the economy, study says. Just doesn't seem to be a lot of impact, but we'll see.
Yeah, you always have to scratch your head when you read some of these headlines, and it all depends on where it's coming from, of course. A lot of mixed reviews, as you saw in the Fastener Distributor Index. Although we've still got real strong numbers out there, people are certainly beginning to wonder. But what you're saying is that, just like everyone else, the NFDA's approach is we have to wait and see on the tariff issue, huh?
Right. When you have the diverse membership that we have, it's going to impact each segment a little differently. And so we're just gathering feedback as to what people are hearing and seeing. As a business, I'm seeing some tariff line item, impacts happening, on certain products, and then others I'm not seeing any at all. I had a supplier tell me yesterday that stainless steel has gone up 40%, and I haven't seen that from any other supplier in the same sector. So, I don't know what to believe, and I don't know what to anticipate, because the misinformation is so more prevalent than truth. Or what reality is, and if you pick up, if you're a Twitter person, you're seeing something new every 5 minutes. So it's kind of tough. I just look at the invoices and I gauge it based on those things.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about Bry there, Kelly. Hey, Kelly, we have a big conference coming up in March. It's March 13th through the 16th. And something you said jogged my memory on that. Of course, we were planning on talking about that anyway. It's coming up. We're going to talk about it. It is a joint conference of the NFDA, the PAC West, and the MWFA. That's the Midwest Fastener Association, which is historic. And what made me think of that is just speaking of the way that you have all these diverse members in your organization, and of course spreading that out among all these groups makes that even more pronounced. So let's get into that. But before we do, refresh everybody's memory. How long have you been the president of the NFDA now. At what point in your tenure are you?
Well, I think I'm in year 2 of maybe year 3 of my duties as president is a 1-year stint. So I was vice president prior to that. I was director prior to that. So I'm about ready to finish up my 3-year term next June. And then we have Dan Zender from Trinity, who is going to be the new president in June. And we're going to be we'll be announcing the new vice president in January.
So the NFDA plans out the succession, and I guess you avoid last-minute kind of scrambling that way, which makes a lot of sense. Plus, you groom everybody as they're coming up.
Right. Well, yeah, we like to make sure that there's a nice timing between the change of the guard. Make sure momentum stays in place with what our strategic initiatives are, and we try to stay 3 to 5 years out. So we keep everybody in the loop. We're bringing them up to speed 4 to 5 months prior to taking on a new role, so that they can just pick the ball up and keep running with it.
So setting your 3 to 5 year strategy or your planning, presumably it's a continuous running thing. Because what people want out of an association changes over time. And
I don't know if they change so much as they recirculate. With board members, it's unique in that it takes someone who's never been on a board or to get familiar with the board and its agenda and the strategic initiative. So it's important that you align your incoming board members with what the current agenda is and what's in play, so that it continues the momentum. It's unfortunate when you have boards. I think we have 13 associations in the country, and that's just the Fastener distributor and associate members or manufacturers associations. And each one of them operate a little differently, but a lot of them have the same issues between membership value, board member participation, and then, just setting an agenda and staying on path with that. And so there's a lot that goes into NFDA. It's a 50-year-old, 50, I think we're in 52 now, but our organization tries to do a lot of pre-planning, and we try not to upset the agendas and the strategic plan, given that our main mission is to bring value to our members and raise participation of our members and get them, coming to the meetings that are relevant to, the topic of the day. This coming up meeting that we've got in March is a major advancement toward a lot of things. Not just that the biggest 3 associations are all meeting together, which is significant.
Yeah,
we could probably have close to 300 to 400 participants at this event, which is just outstanding.
Oh, it's going to be huge.
Yeah, and it's great timing. It's the middle of February or March. For everyone else in the country that wants to get to sunny California, and San Diego's beautiful in March, and so we're looking forward to hosting everyone out here and seeing everyone enjoy our weather. But more than anything, it's about getting the associations together, and it's about inviting the other 10 associations from all over the country to come and enjoy this atmosphere as well. Not only do we have strong content, but we'll have strong participation by members. And so the platforms that between the NFDA, PacWest, and Midwest can all kind of bring together is we all have a little bit of best practice when it comes to our events that we're all bringing to the table. So we'll have some roundtable events that are PacWest driven. We have some events similar to the ESPS at the NFDA level that make it advantageous for people to see their associate members or manufacturers and maybe make appointments. And it's a long enough conference where we're going to have plenty of time to get FaceTime with the right people. But more than anything, it's about including other associations in these events to understand our complex conference and event schedules and the conflicts that those present. Just look at this past year. A very common one people recognize is staff are backing up right up to the Las Vegas show, and these kind of events these can be overwhelming for certain sectors of our industry, just because they've got to attend so many events, and it really makes it difficult to make those decisions as to what's the best place to be and where do you need to be to help your business succeed. So these kind of joint conferences are really important to help break down the fragmentation in the industry. I think we have all talked about fragmentation for a number of years, and we all see it. So it's a really good opportunity to break those barriers down and get everybody seeing that these kind of events are what really the future holds for our industry by making it more inclusive.
Right, because it's becoming evident that the past mechanism of completely separate organisations is a little bit difficult to continue. They have trouble making money. They've 11 of them, so they can only make money in their, the annual shows or conferences, and that's 11 of them stick in a year.
Right.
And the reality is that some degree of unification sort of makes common sense.
Yeah, that's a hard word to get everybody to say and swallow at the same time.
Right.
Because there's a lot of fear involved with that, and we saw that when we rolled the LAFA and the Western Association associations together back 10 years ago.
Was that 10 years ago?
It's 2007, I believe.
Wow.
It was 2007 or 8. We were working hard toward that, and as successful as that has been, there's still some negativity about it, but. I don't expect that it's like anything, 80-20, 80% of the people enjoy it, 20% still have something to say about it, but overall it's been a success. And I think that's the important thing, is for everybody to realize that in order for this industry to flourish, there may need to be some additional unification or a change of the model of our association community.
Right.
And I don't have all the answers. I have a vision of what I see. And it's not a vision that I designed. It's just a vision of what I see and what I've studied about associations and communities. Is the stronger the association community, the more they're likely to have strong membership, trade show, and a publication. And if you look at the larger associations in the industry or outside of our industry in just the world, the powerful associations have those three key elements. All the associations struggle with the same diversity, and that's creating membership value, having a strong membership and retention, and then, revenue. And how do you gain revenue without having high dues?
Yep.
And how do you stay profitable? Because you have strong years and you have lean years.
Yep.
So it's always a balance between, am I going to be the guy, the president that's going to be go into the red this time? So nobody wants to be that guy, but sometimes there's risks that we need to take, and I guess I have maybe people know me to be a little more risky than others, but I tend to balance those out with some good decisions that I think that the industry just needs to get around and make this, going forward to break down the fragmentation. The FIC, I think, Brian, you and I have talked about this before. But the FIC, it had its place in 20 years ago. This redevelopment of it over the past 5 to 10 years has been somewhat of a disappointment, only in that they haven't taken on the challenges in the areas that they probably could have done the most good, and it's left it to other associations to question its viability. So as all the associations are members of FIC, I think they all go back and shake and scratch their head to say, well, what did we do this time? And I think they're trying to invent something to do rather than just take on the obvious, and that's, less fragmentation, take on some challenges that as an industry whole they can get behind, like this tariff.
Well, hang on, guys. So what is your understanding of the role of the FIC? And the FIC is the Fastener Industry Coalition. So for the people in the audience who might not be as familiar, what is the stated objective of that organization?
What was it?
I know what it's supposed to be. Whether or not they work toward that end or not, I've yet to see. They seem to be embracing a lower echelon type of industry subjects or things that come up, and I don't want to bash anything that's happened. They've taken on a role to help things in certain areas of our industry, whether it be the Fastener, Young Fastener Professional, or it be the Hall of Fame, those kind of things. They don't seem to be as the high level of government interaction.
mean, surely that's
that it was originally, things that it was originally intended for were larger scope. Things that you needed to have a unified group that had other individuals that weren't necessarily board members on the association community boards, but they were active in their community. So when you go back to FQA, there was participation by a number of business leaders that weren't on boards, but they were part of the FQA. So, you look at the Fastener Quality Act and you look at Prop 65 and how it's affected manufacturers and their roles with distribution in California and out of California. There's probably a role that it could have played in that they didn't embrace, which was disappointing.
What do you think about this as another role for an organization like a FIC or like an NFDA? How about strengthening the connection between manufacturing and distribution vis-a-vis NFDA and IFI, for example? Do you think that's a place for some organization to step in?
I don't know if it's about stepping in another organization or having an FIC to manage that role, but I think that the cooperation between IFI, NFDA, PAC West has never ever been stronger. I mean, there's so much synergy between the three of those entities participating together, and as well as what it offers to the Fastener training community, whether it's funds that they get from FEF to fund training, or if it's scholarships from IFI to fund Fastener Training Institute and scholarships from the entire Fastener Association community. I mean, there's a lot of money being put into in consideration of training and other things that are coming from NFDA, IFI, and PAC West. And they all work very strongly together to make sure that they're all focused on making that a better connection. So do we need another entity like FIC? I don't think so. I think that could take on its own life with the cooperation between an IFI and an NFDA, or a chapterization of a system that embraces the relationship that's been built over so many years that's working. I don't think we need to create something new. I think we just need to remanage or manage these groups with more effectiveness. Right. Or these problems, these external things that we need to take in mind for, problems that we need to solve, but start committees from within all these known organizations to take on those things, because that's where the financing's got to come from anyway. FIC is just another place that everybody sends $500 a year to say, I'm part of FIC, and then they go to a meeting once a year, and everybody's like, okay, what are we here for? We're here to do a roll call and see what anybody's got on their plate, and that's kind of about it. So they're an organization looking for something to do, and I don't think we need that. I think the organizations that we already have in place know what needs to be done, and I think it's a matter of putting the resources toward it when it's necessary.
Okay, but you used the term chapterization a little while ago, and also a little while ago you said you had a vision, and you told us about the 3 planks, really, of what you think is successful association requires, but your vision. So does your vision include chapterization? And if so, is it the NFDA's role to initiate some kind of a chapterized version of what we have now?
Well, I don't want to go too far out on the limb there, guys.
Right,
I think I've said my ideas. They need a lot more diagnosis of how do we make that happen. I do my best to talk about it so that we're not just avoiding the conversations. I mean, there's a lot of struggling, and I mean struggling in that, it's hard to invent the event calendar items. There's a lot of work that goes in by all board members just to try to make a viable program. So there's so much strong effort put into this work, and sometimes you come away and it's disappointing because you don't have the participation. You put out an event and you expect everybody in your association to come and join, and then you have a terrible turnout. Well, was it content? Was it value? And every member has a different philosophy of what's most important to them. So there's never a golden ticket to any of these things that you do. So you do your best, but that's where they struggle. That's where a lot of associations struggle to continue to have financing to make their without raising dues, and it's a balancing act. So I said chapterization. You said unification earlier. I don't know what the right word is. I know that they're the association community, and I say that kind of frequently because this community has to decide what does it want for itself. I'll give you a good example where barriers have been broken down. When LAFA had the Fastener Training education piece for its own association in the Los Angeles area. It was well received and it was well attended. It was well funded. And we made the decision to spin that off because there was fear amongst the other associations to embrace that instead of using their own. And it was finally, it took 10 years to do it, but everyone's finally, and I say everyone, I mean the majority of the association community has embraced that training piece, that element, and it's now getting the funding that it needs to make it robust and online and, have all the materials and the intellectual property that it needs to have a robust program. So the IFI supports it, the NFDA supports it. The other associations are embracing it and bringing it into their local areas. Whereas before, that would be something of a competitive nature for finances, for funds that the associations need to have as income to support these other free things that they do for the association meetings and things like that, or to keep dues down. So this is all a fine balancing act, but whether or not you call it consolidation or unification or chapterization, there needs to somehow develop a management structure within the association community that reduces cost, reduces the amount of overlapping calendar events, so that we can appropriately be where we need to be, and attend what we need to attend to make our businesses successful. So there are some models out there, but there's a lot of work that needs to be dove into in order to create the real vision and map it out on paper as to how would it get done. There is a lot of work to be done there, and when you have a room full of volunteers, it's tough.
Yeah.
Who wants to take on the challenge?
It seems to me that if you, at the moment, you look around, what's missing? There are people in this industry, and it's a relatively important industry. It seems to be no voice in Washington. I mean, the reality should be that someone should be able to talk to someone in Washington and say, hey, some of these tariffs are really goofy. They're not doing what they're meant to do. And that's really a level, it's higher than any one single association, but it's a group of the associations, a more powerful association that could do that.
Yeah, I think the argument is there's different levels of acceptance of the tariff because it affects each tier of the supply chain a little differently.
Yeah, true.
That I don't think that there's a solid answer that anybody could go advocate one is better than the other without hurting one of the other ones. So I know that my manufacturing friends, and whether they're buying material from Canada or Brazil or China, those all have a different impact on their businesses. And how it will affect how they price the distributor from one region of the country to another may become a completely different equation as well. And then the trickle-down effect of these things isn't hitting everyone at the same time, and nor are they hitting everyone with the same amounts of percentage of tariff. So if, whether you're importing direct or you're buying from an importer or you're buying raw material, all of these impacts are still unrecognized to its fullest extent yet. So I think everyone's still kind of puzzled as to what would you say to Washington other than, hey, tariffs are bad. Well, IFI, they embraced that with their lobbyist group, but they fought the 232, I have friends that were talking about exactly what happened back in early 2000 when they did this before, and what the impact was to the automotive world and the assemblies that left here and the fasteners that were part of assemblies done here and what left. So there is an impact, but have we felt it yet, or is it still coming? Will it be short-circuited before it gets into full impact? There's still so much, variables. But you can just go to Washington and complain at this point. Can you really do anything, important?
Right, and also by the time the true impact's really felt, it might be too late to do anything about to fix it too.
Exactly. And with the administration that we have, the tweeting and the saber rattling, which one do you defend? Which one do you take action against? It may be gone tomorrow. It's hard to say.
Yeah, we come full circle. We started the conversation with asking you what you might have discussed on your executive meeting, and this is why, because nobody can make heads or tails out of it.
Right.
Hey, just out of curiosity, it's also ironic because here we're having this conversation, and France is melting down right now, and there's a connection because it has to do with centralization, or the attempted centralization of Europe by way of the EU. So are you? I'm just curious. Are you a Brexit guy or not a Brexit guy, if you care to say?
I don't necessarily understand why they want it out in the beginning. I don't know the purpose for it, other than it's caused a whole lot of havoc.
It has.
And I don't think it's been healthy for anybody over there.
Well, it just occurred to me that it's ironic because here I'm reflexively for decentralization, and here I am on Fastener Talk Radio, really kind of tacitly supporting unifying the Fastener Association field. So I thought it was kind of funny.
And I was over in Italy for that meeting back in September, and it was funny because you had the Italian Fastener Association that I was invited to speak at, and then you had the EU, but that was a topic that wasn't discussed very much, I think, on purpose.
Right. I think the issue, if you understand England a bit, is quite simple. They regard their legal system as one of their most important legacies to the whole world. Mm-hmm. And, it's been in place and it's all over it is in the United States as well. But the thought that someone sitting in Brussels could dream up laws that would overrule anything in their own country is what really led to the huge problem. I mean, there's lots of other things, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I'm in favour of the British view of that. I mean, I think the EU has overreached. However, I remember dramatically that when I was working in Germany and for an American company, and we had companies, 40 companies in Europe, and I went out with the manager of our French company, and he took me to Versailles Palace and showed me around the place, and at that moment they were just going to the euro, and I asked him, how could you give up the franc, knowing how proud the French were? And he said, I am the first generation in our family in 300 years that has not had a war. This is worth it. And, they have had many benefits. There's lots of things that have come right. It's just that governments can't help but get an overreach, okay? It's just natural. They can't help it, and so happened in the EU.
Well, and the overarching philosophy behind that is that some would have you believe is that globalization will solve everything. Have one government and all your problems go away. Welcome to Nirvana. Well, I have my doubts anyway. You could boil it down coming back to our conversation here. Just the same one that's going on in Europe. It's sovereignty. So you have certain associations, they want to keep their identity, as they recognize it, and that's what it boils down to. I wanted to turn the page, guys, in the conversation. It's related, but it's something that we touched on a few minutes ago. Kelly, you mentioned the FEF, that's the Fastener Education Foundation. We don't talk too much about them here. I have no idea what they're up to. I wanted to ask you about really the way that Fastener education has been evolving. I know at one point, for example, the Fastener Training Institute, who we support adamantly and frequently here on the podcast, one time they were rolled into PacWest, and now they're a separate entity, and I've never been clear what the relationship with FEF is. Could you help us to understand that whole situation a little bit?
Sure. So we recognized when we were spinning off FTI that it was going to need partners for fundraising outside of itself, and because it was separating from PacWest monetarily and for leadership as a separate for-profit, it needed to have a 501c3 organization tied to it that was raising funds for it in a charitable fashion. So that's why we started FEF, so that it could be a standalone entity for raising capital for fastener training. When we initially launched FEF and we partnered with IFI, it became apparent that we had to broaden that scope of who it was supposed to serve. That it couldn't only serve the FTI, so it couldn't be a fundraising arm specifically for FTI, but it had to look at other fastener related, so manufacturing sector, where they were calling for more training because of the deficit of baby boomers leaving the workforce. And so these problems began to become very present to us, and that we had to broaden our fundraising capabilities. And unfortunately, in the first 4 or 5 years, we've reached into the conference association opportunities and events, and we've done single contributor fundraising, but we haven't really attracted the large corporate dollar. We've gotten some great donations from our corporate partners and our manufacturers, but we haven't had the impact that we really wanted. So Mike Lentini is the president of FEF now. I was president 2 years ago. Mike's been the president, and we've decided to take a different approach to it, and that's to go after government money and grants and things like that to build our financial base incredibly large so that we can support Rock Valley College and we can provide an online, these are to the tune of $100,000, $200,000 grants that we need to be able to give out, and not just $25,000, $30,000 here and there as we get the money to fund, certain programs. But we really need to do a really good job to embrace the problem that we have with all the sectors of our industry within training at multiple levels. We're talking about it at the administrative level for our education system. We don't have the trade schools like we used to have back when I was a teenager. We don't have these avenues for children and kids to go down a path out of high school that get them into a great job. And every argument that I've heard from our manufacturers has been solid in that we don't have a dirty floor. We don't have a greasy factory. We got a clean factory. It's a great place to work, a great environment. They're safe. And kids they have this stigma in their mind from their parents' generation of you need to go to college and get a degree and go to law school. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, but there's so many extra attorneys out here right now. We have this labor pool of attorneys, that are working for lower wages than you can go in as a cold header, because we've flooded ourselves with white collar, workers, to the tune that's the only way that you can make a living and get by in this country, and that's just not true at all.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you look at some of the countries in Europe, particularly Germany, that's where Germany excels because, working in a factory is not a problem to them. That's one of being very productive, good Germanic thing. That's it's something to aspire to if you're a kid. And there's no particular downside to someone working as a, operator in a factory as opposed to sitting behind a desk.
Right.
And they have a great technical school system in Germany. It's amazing. And they turn out, that's why it's an amazingly productive country. Yeah. They need very skilled machine people, and that's the thing that's missing in the education system here.
So, well, in order to bring relevance to that, we're a small sector of industry in the big scheme of things. So for us to have this problem, the airline pilots have the same problem. They've got more airline pilots retiring for the same reason, the baby boom. They've got a shortage. They're doing the exact same kind of fundraising campaigns about education and awareness that our fastener industry is doing. So we're not the only ones affected by this problem, but with the change or cultural change of manufacturing, seems that the momentum is coming back to U.S. in some light, in some fashion. Is that we're gonna need to build an infrastructure for these people, and it's not something that's going to happen in 3 years. You can't just say increase tariffs, China's going away, and everybody move out. Yeah. I read an article this morning. GoPro, they make the action cameras. They're moving out of China, sometime between next year, but they're not coming back to the U.S. They're going to Vietnam or Thailand or somewhere else where they can get the same low rate labor without the tariff problem. So it doesn't mean it's coming back to the U.S., but it'd be nice to see some stuff come back to the U.S.
Yeah. Who knows whether Vietnam has the same intellectual property theft problem either.
Well, it's everybody thinks, Apple's going to build a facility in Wisconsin. Well, where's Apple going to get the technical resources to put together cell phones in Appleton?
All right.
I love Appleton. I think it's a great town. But it isn't, Shanghai where you've got 150,000 people that know how to solder.
Yeah.
You just don't have it. That everybody, they talk about this Amazon headquarters thing, and the big joke. Their biggest problem is the community that they're going to build these facilities. They're going to be able to hire from within these communities and have a good, strong company. That's the shortfall. So you could have all the good intention in the world to move manufacturing into what city in USA, and are you going to have the people that can support the growth of that business, without transporting them all in from somewhere else?
Right,
So,
or without a long-term training program.
right. You could go into Silicon Valley. I mean, Austin, when it became a semiconductor town, it took years for the development of that to happen. Austin didn't just turn into a semiconductor mecca, overnight.
No. They started doing that, in the very early 90s when they started trying to manufacture fake Apple computers actually there. And Dell.
AST and Tandy and all those guys moved out of California for Texas for the lower land rate and lower, but that was the technological boom that the Texas area saw just with the PC, and then aerospace.
Yeah. So it's a very long-term thing. That's why
absolutely.
It requires a very long-term view from the associations or the training institutions, and it needs powerful associations to keep the things on track.
Absolutely. Again, another reason for the fragmentation to be recognized is in order to have good best practices, you've got to have events and association communities that work together or work in concert with one another for the greater good. And that's the only reason why I push the vision of the association community is it's got to get better. It can't stay down the same path. The old way of doing things 50 years ago and the intention for association startups was a different reason back in the day than it is today. If you want to sustain going forward, there has to be a better model. But hey, I do want to tell you a little bit about this big conference that we're having out there and what's going on out there. Can we
talk about
push that in? So we have a tremendous calendar set up for this meeting coming up in March. We have Salim Brahimi, who's the Director of Engineering and Technology for the IFI. He's going to come out and do a live demo of the new online tools and the new revision book that's coming out. We have A Path to Winning in the Age of Rapid Change. So this is by Dirk Beveridge, who is going to be giving us a complete look on the change and innovation that's going on throughout distribution, wholesale distribution. What's in the future for fastener distribution? It's a panel with Mike Bailey from Nucor, Bill Derry from Field, and Mark Strandquist, who good for Mark. He's doing really well, and I can't wait to see him.
Brian Wheeler too.
And Brian Wheeler's going to be, he's a good moderator, so Brian's going to keep him on track.
Okay.
Then we have a nice lunch program. Who's going to be Kirk Zender with Ernest Machine is going to give us a lunch program on the economic impact of e-commerce. So that ought to be something new. I mean, we all started with the website development years ago, and it's kind of interesting to see where it's at today. And then we have what we always do at the Pac West event. We have the business owners and a business executive roundtables. And we've changed at the Pac West. We've changed those programs over the last few years to make them a little different here and there. But these are great places to bring a lot of hot topics, to the business leader community and get some good feedback. And this is a unique one that we're doing on artificial intelligence. And there's a lot of business intelligence tools that we're starting to see come into our businesses, whether it's Power BI or it's Tableau or different ways of mining data. But there's an interesting aspect to the artificial intelligence of algorithms and these things that are making determinations of big data and allowing us to analyze those solutions in real time, a lot faster than we've ever been able to see data. And then we have the trade war experiment. We're going to be evaluating the results. Christopher Thornburg is a founding partner of Beacon Economics and a director at the UC Riverside School of Business for Economic Forecasting. So he's going to be there telling us about, what's happened since this trade war started? What's been the real effect?
Wow, actually sounds like a terrific set of things.
That is a jam-packed agenda, and of course, at the same time, folks, you're going to get to rub elbows with probably north of 400 members of the Fastener community. And, I'll tell you, Kelly, I've never been to one of these events, and I've been to several of them, where you didn't make at least one connection, somebody you never met before, you never really talked to before, and it turns out to be something really great for your business. So that's reason enough to attend.
It is. I always make it a point to introduce myself to someone just out of the blue that I've never met before. And, it just has surprising and amazing results, the connections that you get. And especially if it's a first time attendees, their first time being at some place and they don't really know where the bathroom is or where anybody is or who anybody is. And it's just a good opportunity to get them involved and say, hey, this is what it's all about, and just come be part of it and just sit back and watch, and just take it all in, and then go back and just reflect on it and then get involved. And I think we've seen more new memberships crop up from taking those approaches, because it just invites them to participate, invites them to want to be there. We've got some great social events that we got planned. We've got a hospitality on Wednesday and Thursday. We're going to be playing golf at one of the best golf clubs in San Diego. It's called Steel Canyon. It's a Gary Player course. Obviously, San Diego's become well-renowned for its breweries, so we have a brew stop that we're going to be doing. And then we got a great spouse guest lunch at the Coronado Island, Payov. So it's going to be a great week out there in Cali. And if you've got anybody if anybody's out there that it just has to go to a NASCAR race, Fontana's the following weekend right here in Southern California. It's about a 90-minute drive just north of San Diego.
Oh, Kelly, we're never going to get Bry back into the office.
and I'll have my RV in the infield, so just come look for me.
Yeah, I won't be anywhere near the golf course, okay?
Hey, Kelly, I'm just remembering when you were talking about introducing yourself to people at random as your practice at these things. You remember years ago when you bought me a Macallan 25 down there in Atlanta? That was great.
I do. I do.
Well, everybody, this event is taking place on March 13th through the 16th. That's 2019 in San Diego. Get out to the NFDA website, probably among other places. For more information, you can do that at nfda-fastener.org. Kelly Cole is the president of that organization, as well as the GM of Hayes Bolton Supply out there in beautiful San Diego, California. And one thing we didn't touch on, or you didn't, during your lengthy description there of what's going on, is there a dress code, Kelly Cole?
Well, I'm not going to be following one.
You mean there may be?
I'm a firm believer that conferences should be comfortable. So, yeah, business casual.
You got it.
How about that?
You got it.
Okay?
That's good, yeah.
We won't be cutting anybody's ties off, but we are at the beach.
Enough said. Well, Kelly, it's been a pleasure speaking with you again. Thanks for sharing all of those insights, and we will see you for sure out there at the conference. And, hey, it's always great to speak with you.
Hey, look forward to it. Thanks a lot. Pleasure to be on with you guys.
All right. Thanks.
They're like more cowbell for the fastener industry. Brian and Eric. Fully Threaded Radio.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust. Hey, fastener professionals. One of the most anticipated events in the fastener industry is just around the corner. Make plans today to attend Mack Brooks Fastener Fair USA, which takes place in Detroit May 22nd and 23rd, 2019. Over 300 companies from around the world will exhibit at Fastener Fair USA in 2019, showcasing the latest solutions for key industries like automotive, aerospace, construction, power gen, MRO, and more. In addition to exhibits during 2 full days on the show floor, you'll find plenty of topical information and technical and distribution conference sessions, and networking events, such as the opening night reception. No matter where you fall in the supply chain, Fastener Fair USA is your opportunity opportunity to join more than 2,000 manufacturers, suppliers, distributors, and end users in the heart of the Midwest at Detroit's Cobo Center, May 22nd and 23rd, 2019. For more information and to register today, go to www.fastenerfair.com/USA. See you at Mack Brooks Fastener Fair, USA.
I need quarter 20x2 zinc-plated socket head cap screws ASAP. My customer has a line down and needs Saturday delivery. Help!
Solution Man can. I have over $1 million in zinc-plated sockets in stock, and I'll gladly drop ship directly to your customer on Saturdays. Visit the Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Is there anything you can't do, Solution Man?
When it comes to fasteners, nothing I can think of, ma'am. I'm not too good at bowling, though.
Hi, this is Alan Weitzman with JC Sales and Rivet. Visit us for all your rivet needs on www.rivetsonline.com. You are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
You know, Kelly made a whole set of really interesting comments, but one of them struck me a lot, which was the comment about lobbying. Because I'd always sort of thought, well, you know, there's a great benefit in getting some overall group and they can do lobbying on behalf of the fastener industry. But his comment really was, I've thought about it quite a bit afterwards, really that the industry as a whole covers people from manufacturing all the way through to pure retail, and they all have different really needs relative to what a lobbyist would try and do in Washington.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Well, it just goes to show nothing is ever as straightforward as it seems.
Yeah, right. More's the pity.
I like John Butler's comment from episode 134 on the tariffs. He said basically some customers told them over there at the Olander Group that they won't accept price increases due to tariffs, so they don't call them that.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'd like to thank Kelly Cole for sharing his pearls of wisdom with us on the episode today. We'll be seeing him out there in San Diego in March. We'll also be seeing Carmen Vertullo and Rob LaPointe, who are based out in that part of the world. I don't know if Joe Greenslade will be there, but it sure was great to hear him on the podcast too.
We had him on the podcast some years ago, and he was those days discussing the moves that were to try and make American fastener or make the American fastener industry a little more comfortable with metrics, particularly the ISO definitions.
Yeah, well, I noticed we're still filling up our cars with gallons and not liters too. But it was good to see Joe on the podcast. And we're going to have him again because I'll tell you, that guy, as you know, is a wealth of knowledge and he's got a lot of good stories too.
Oh, yeah.
Mike McNulty and Dave Baird had the Fastener Distributor Index numbers for us. And of course, Mike had all the headlines. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for being focused, Mike. Okay.
The title sponsor of Fully Threaded Radio is Stelfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's still Stelfast. Fully Threaded is also sponsored by Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Fastener Technology International, InSequel Software, Mack Brooks, Fastener Fair USA, ND Industries, Parker Fasteners, The Worth Group, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. We say it all the time, everybody, but we sure do appreciate you listening into the podcast. Please let us know what we can do better, or if you have questions, comments, suggestions. The email, ftr@fullythreaded.com, and we'll hear you out on Twitter as well. The handle there, Fully Threaded. Well, Bri, as we wind down the 2018 podcast season, we've got one final piece of business from the 2018 Fastener Show out there in Vegas, and that is the Booth Awards, which were announced by FastenerNewsDesk.com. You got this up on your screen, Bri?
Yeah, I have it in full beautiful graphics on a Macintosh. Okay.
Oh, please.
I know that no one else in the fastener industry uses a Macintosh, but still, I had to put that in.
Back to some fastener industry information, everybody. The best booth of 2018, according to Fastener News Desk, this is was Brighton Best International.
Wow. So how do they decide that? I mean, what's their criteria? Not that I dispute their answers. I'm trying to work out what makes them decide. Why don't they decide that our little one, fully threaded /FCH, was good?
I think Chris and Lisa wander around the show and they take pictures and they carefully consider what's available at each booth in each category. And they've been at it a long time. So they have very educated, trained eyes, and they have good hearts that are not susceptible to any kind of outside influence or, let's say, effects from gratuitous giveaways or anything like that. And they come out with this list each year. They do a very nice job. And then they do a write-up on their webpage, fastenernewsdesk.com, which is what we're both looking at right now. That's how they do it, Bri.
Oh, okay. I did actually get to see the booth. It was I walked past it very quickly in one of my rare moments when I was allowed to wander the floor. I went to say hi to George Hunt III, but he was sort of busy when I got there, so I just walked past. But it looked pretty cool.
Well, you can look for yourself, folks, on the website here. There's a lot of full-color photos, and yeah, it was a very, very sharp-looking.
So do you think we have to get some sort of background lighting that has different colors that might help us, do you think?
You like the lighting, huh? We had 2 lights. This was the first year in Vegas that we actually had lights in our booth, Bri.
I know. Yeah, this is like we're getting really close to the big time, I can tell.
Had I known that we were going to be competing with Brighton, maybe I would have invested in a blue one or a purple one.
Right. Yeah, I can see that's part of it. Congratulations to them for putting a really great booth in place, okay? Takes a lot of work.
Best Customer Experience Award went to Cambridge.
Oh, okay.
There's a photo of them right there, all in their teal shirts.
Yep, I saw them all.
Their write-up starts off with the line, "From the booth to the bar, the folks at Cambridge Corporation treat their customers right." Maybe I should take back what I said earlier, Bri, about Chris and Lisa not being influenced. I don't know. No, I'm sure they were doing everything on the up and up. Congratulations, Cambridge. Next up was the Best Group Award, and that was won by American Ring. Did you see these guys walking around with these jumpsuits and their bow ties? I did. I didn't know who they were from initially, but I guess it was American Ring.
Huh. I did not see them. I was probably talking to someone when they walked past.
Yeah, you had your head buried on the Fastenertron. Best Character Award, well, we know who got that. It was Stelfast with the caped monkey. Nice photo of that. You know, I was at the North Coast Fastener Association holiday event last night, and there were people from both Stelfast and Lindstrom at the event, and I commended them for the hockey jersey thing, and there's photos of that here on the site. And I guess that went over really well across the board. People felt really good about it, and they got a lot of good reactions. Congratulations, Stelfast. Now, Best Giveaway, I could see why Affix took this with all these baseball-themed giveaways, but you know, it's hard to compete. I guess that's why they had to make a separate category for the best character. I don't know. I haven't studied these this closely in years past. Were these always the same categories, Bri?
I don't recall, okay? I don't recall.
I guess you can't keep giving Best Giveaway to the monkey year after year.
No.
Now, Fix did a really wonderful job overall with their booth. I did see this one, and Rosa Hearn was with us last episode, and she was describing how she hung out with some of the baseball players there. She's a huge Dodgers fan, and there's a lot of photos here on the website about that as well, and looks like a lot of fun was had there, and they really went first class all the way. Congratulations to Fix on this one. Did you make it over to Bryce Fastener, Bri?
No, I did not.
I remember the last time we talked with Bryce Campbell back at the MWFA tabletop, I could barely drag you away from the table. You guys got into, I don't know, a conversation on Heisenberg's uncertainty principle or something.
Oh, it was, I know, and right, and Einstein's general theory of relativity, not the special theory, okay? You're right, that was a rather involved conversation. Fasteners were of light relief after that.
Yeah, special theory is really Bush League.
It is, yeah.
Well, Bryce Fastener's got a security screw that took the award this year. Congratulations there. I like the poster of the impaled bandit on the security screw.
Looks like people flying around in capes are pretty popular too at the moment.
You storing up ideas for next year, is that it?
Yeah, I am. I'm looking at these things saying, well, now I've got the lighting thing figured out, okay?
All right. See, I had no idea that this exercise was going to stimulate your competitive juices, but I'm liking where this is going.
Right. So we have to deal with the best creativity thing. We have to steal that away from Parker Fasteners, okay?
Yes, appropriately. Are we allowed to steal awards from our sponsors?
Probably not.
And we're going to do it anyway. Look at how sexy fasteners can really be. That's what the Fastener News Desk gals took away from Parker Fasteners, who won this award. And I got to say, those are pretty cool, those bar stools made out of giant screws.
Yeah, no non-stick fridge magnets for these people. They're way past that.
Yeah, Parker actually had some pretty generous giveaways, too. I got a couple of awesome pens and sat on that very bar stool myself.
Oh, wow.
Well, last but not least was the International Award, and that was taken by Dorkin. Now, the ladies said this one had an international or a European flair to it. It looks like a very sharp booth. Congratulations, Dorkin. Well, there you have it. The 2018 International Fastener Expo Booth Award winners, brought to us by FastenerNewsDesk.com. See, Bright, see what you miss when you have to keep yourself in the booth working the floor all the time? You're just not really able to absorb the true Vegas show experience.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure I've missed out on lots of things, okay?
Fortunately, folks, you don't have to miss the next episode of Fully Threaded Radio because we'll be back in January with another podcast season. We have our fine list of sponsors to thank for that. We hope you'll do the same. We also hope you'll have a fantastic holiday season if you celebrate Christmas. Merry Christmas to you.
And whatever you celebrate, have lots of fun with your family and friends over the season, okay? Over the end of the year.
And that's going to put this episode of Fully Threaded Radio in the can. For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there, sell some screws, start thinking about next year's booths too, folks. And we'll talk to you next time.
Till next year, okay? See you then.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.
Oops.